New data shows more homeowners falling behind on their mortgages. Tonight, we highlight a father's bitter fight to save his home. The Rastafarian community outraged by Monday's Reparations Committee announcement. A PLP backbencher says the BTC probe is more urgent than ever. Plus, the F&M slams government's handling of the customs union issue. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Fwani Toot, and MB12 starts now. Having news tonight, despite government's pledge to assist struggling homeowners facing foreclosure and proclamations of a rebounding economy, the Central Bank of the Bahamas Credit Quality Report has revealed that mortgage delinquencies have risen in recent months. According to the report, total mortgages more than 31 days in arrears rose by more than $22 million between September and January. The hundreds of millions in arrears represent thousands of homeowners crying for relief. Tonight, we speak with one of them whose family has already been ordered to leave its home.
It's just rough. And it's been hard to see your hard-earned money go down the drain like that.
50-year-old Robert Carter sat on his sofa, wiping away tears and struggling to compose himself as he pleaded with the government to help save his home. For 4 years, the father of one says he has struggled to meet monthly mortgage payments, but despite their best efforts, he and his wife were given until March 16, 2014 to move out of their eastern New Providence home. But he's not the only homeowner struggling to pay the bank. According to the Central Bank's Credit Quality Report for January 2014, total mortgage arrears 31 days and over rose from $698 million in September 2013 to $730 million in December, before dropping to $721 million in January 2014. Meantime, non-performing mortgage loans over 90 days climbed from $504 million in September 2013 to more than $519 million in January 2014. Carter, who withheld his name out of embarrassment, says he paid something on his mortgage each month, but couldn't meet the full monthly payment of more than $1,800.
I'm trying to think. Somebody needs to hear our story. To just sit back and do nothing. I could understand if we were the type of people who were not paying anything, that they have every right, but we have records to prove and to show that we were consistently paying every month.
Carter told us his father convinced him to save up and purchase the eastern New Providence property when he was just 17 years old. 33 years later, he faces the agony of walking away from his decades-long investment. In an affidavit, the Carters noted, "We admit that we have defaulted in payments. We began experiencing financial difficulties resulting from having to terminate 2 contractors, where none completed the construction of our home." After struggling for 2 years, Carter says he and his wife glimpsed a ray of hope in 2012 when the Progressive Liberal Party announced plans for a mortgage relief plan on the election campaign trail.
We hear you.
We hear you.
We hear you.
We listen to the concerns of the citizens.
It's time for a tough new plan. That is the social agenda of the PLP. It moves persons from poverty into the middle class and to the upper class.
Believe in the Bahamas.
Believe in the Bahamas.
They made a promise at election time, and I expect them to live up to that promise, because even at one point we applied to the bank for the government grant, and they told us we don't qualify, and the mortgage relief plan, and we were banking on that because we were having problems from then. And when I heard that being publicized through the campaign and stuff, I'm like, look like there's some kind of hope now. That fell through the window. We were just totally disappointed.
Acknowledging the initial plan failed to help more than 1,000 struggling homeowners as expected, Minister of State for Finance Michael Halkitis said back in September clearing banks were considering a revised mortgage relief plan. However, the Carters have run out of time. They now owe the bank more than $40,000. They were supposed to vacate their home 9 days ago and have already begun packing up and apartment hunting. Carter says that's why he was so devastated to watch this story on the news.
I knew he was challenged and didn't have any money. I knew he had descended to the bottom, one who had been at the top. And I knew he was entirely to blame himself for the error of judgment. But this is a man with a wife and children, a wife who is grievously ill. I called the managing director of the bank and asked the managing director, she was traveling, I said, please call me. She called me. What can I do as prime minister to stop this man from being put out his house today?
Carter questioned how the Prime Minister could save the home of Chief VAT Advocate Ishmael Lightbourne when there are so many other Bahamians facing foreclosure.
To see something like what just happened on the newscast, and somebody can just come up and just get help like that, and I fighting and I struggling, and they put me in embarrassing situations, and you in court week after week and month after month, and every people come knocking on your door, giving you summons, demand letters. It's very, very frustrating.
He likened the experience to someone ripping out his heart. He says he will consider joining F&M Deputy Leader Loretta Butler Turner in a march against what she called an abuse of power.
I would definitely consider doing, because I'm affected by it. I saw the invitation and I made the call to her this morning to say I'm on board. I'm on board because there are other people out there like me, and I can't just sit back.
Meantime, Democratic National Alliance leader Granville McCartney has accused Prime Minister Christie of abuse of power as the controversy continues over Christie's statement that he called the managing director of a bank to save the home of his tax advisor Ishmael Lightbourne. Christie defended Lightbourne in the House of Assembly recently amid furor over revelations that value-added tax unit coordinator owed property taxes dating back to 1993. McCartney said despite PLP MP's attempts to defend Christie, it is clear the Prime Minister abused his position as the country's top executive to call in a favor for his buddy. He said the government must create an economic and social environment that benefits the majority and not just those of their friends, family members, and political cronies. McCartney said while he can appreciate Christie's desire to help Lightbourne, his responsibility to serve the interest of all Bahamians must in all cases trump his personal inclinations. As the government determines if it gets reparations for slavery, members of the Rastafarian community say they have yet to be consulted on the issue that they've been pushing for many years. This despite co-chairs of the Bahamas' National Reparations Committee lauding the work of local Rastafarian leaders during a press conference yesterday. Jasmine Bonamy has the details.
It's an issue that members of the local Rastafarian community have been speaking out about for decades, but now the issue of reparation has gained a global focus. During that press conference yesterday, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration Fred Mitchell announced that a committee had been appointed to forge ahead with a push by CARICOM heads to get reparations, debt cancellation, and an apology from former European colonizers. Officials yesterday acknowledged that the Rastafarian movement had long pushed for reparations before it became a regionally recognized issue. Chairman of the House of Rastafari, Rithman McKinney, was also named as one of the 24-member Reparations Committee. But it turns out that no formal contact was made with McKinney or the House of Rastafari, which represents 7 Rastafarian communities in the Bahamas. This according to the House of Rastafari spokesperson Ian Mora.
To be quite honest with you, a member of the committee had approached House of Rastafari to let us know that he personally would have liked for us to have been involved, but something official from the commission hasn't really been forwarded to any one of the members of the community yet. Someone's name, the Honorable Priest Whitman, his name was called, but he hasn't been contacted as yet.
Maurer says it's clear that many governments in the region are now joining the reparations bandwagon, but insists it's not a topic that can be politicized. He adds that the House of Rastafari is willing to overlook the apparent oversight and that the House of Rastafari fully intends to work along with the committee moving forward.
It's not so much cause for alarm. It's more to get the information. You know, we seek knowledge before vengeance. And so it's to get the information. They might have a space available for us and just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. And so what we're going to do is not just sit back on our laurels and wait for something to happen. We're going to contact them, as we said, and let them know that we're ready and willing to work. We've been doing it for so long now. This has been an ongoing battle that they're joining in. And so we just saying, you're ready to work now? So are we. Let's go.
According to Maurer, their next move is to reach out to the committee heads to find out how they can best assist.
The rest of the region is now seeing the efficacy in what Rastafari has been trying to show them for so long. And they probably won't, as happens so often, they won't give us any recognition to say that they got the idea from us. But that's not what we want. What we want is to move humanity forward.
Meantime, officials say they expect the committee to present its preliminary research and recommendations by June. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
Describing parts of the BTC deal as egregious, Bamboo Town MP Renber Bell says Prime Minister Perry Christie's recent revelation on the matter further highlights the need to investigate the 2011 sale. Wells was referring to Christie's report that the Ingram administration left $44 million more than it indicated it would in BTC's account following the sale of the majority stake in BTC to Cable and Wireless Communications. As he closed the mid-year budget debate week before last, Christie criticized the former administration over its handling of the sale of BTC. He said though the public has been told repeatedly about the value of the shares being $210 million, the public statements of CWC and the records will show that the final agreed price for the 51% stake was approximately $204 million, almost $7 million less than the reputed price. Commenting on Christie's revelation, Wells said it's very egregious. As the Bahamas Customs, Immigration and Allied Workers Union continues to fight to overturn what it terms an illegal shift system and secure medical coverage for some 300 clerical workers, Deputy Leader of the Free National Movement, Loretta Butler Turner, has accused the Progressive Liberal Party of playing on union members' emotions. On the 2012 election campaign trail, then opposition leader Perry Christie pledged to resolve all outstanding labor disputes within the public service and made a specific reference to the Customs and Immigration Union. Nearly 2 years later, that hasn't happened. Butler Turner called it exploitation at its greatest level.
We came to the table with our plan, the Free National Movement. It was one that was not accepted and rejected. The PLP tried to capitalize on that, which they did very effectively, and promised them that they would resolve these issues. In office now, with the shoe being on the other foot and they having the power, essentially what they're doing is deceiving those individuals who believed that they would have gone back to the original position of overtime.
Butler Turner says the Ingram administration implemented the shift system in 2010 to cut down on excessive overtime costs and to avoid layoffs in the public sector. She says the PLP gave those workers the impression that decision would be reversed if the party won the general election.
I think that it was wrong for the PLP, and I think people are now seeing the wrong that they have done in saying, okay, we're going to right this, we're going to go ahead and fix this for you. We don't have a problem with you doing your overtime. And now that the figures are there for all to see, sense has now finally kicked in. Not that they did not know. Sense has kicked in, and they've thrown this back at those very vulnerable individuals and said, I'm sorry, you know what? You're going to have to do the shift system. And if you don't do the shift system, even worse, I, the minister, who was once your colleague, we're going to ensure that we're going to bring the Defense Force in to replace you.
She was referring to Labor Minister Shane Gibson's assertion that if workers went on strike, government would put Defense Force officers to do the work of Customs and Immigration officers. She also questioned the government's decision to appoint former trade unionist Robert Thackerson as Labor Director.
The Honorable Shane Gibson, in my opinion, has pretty much taken former colleagues of the union, persons who would have fought in the trenches with the union, and put them in positions of power. I need only demonstrate that Mr. Robert Farquharson has now taken the position of Director of Labor. And so obviously his advice, the minister's advice, comes from the Director of Labor. So you find that those persons who would have once been colleagues in the trenches with other unionists have now become oppressors and union busters. Need I say more?
When MB12 returns, the police commissioner admits one category of crime remains a challenge for authorities, plus the latest on COB's presidential search. So stay with us.